Okay, recording's going. All right, so yeah, we will just dive right into it. As I mentioned, a couple people of you guys were on early, and I kind of already mentioned, and I see 3 faces on here today that already had one-on-one calls. So if anyone hasn't booked that yet, make sure to do so. And if you need the link again, we'll drop it again in the chat, or maybe Matt or Fred has it handy. I don't have it in front of me, but regardless, we'll drop it in the chat or in the Facebook Messenger thread there. But yeah, in addition, anyone that's had that call, and more in particular today, and I didn't yet send over the manual, that will be coming after this call. I just didn't send the link to everybody quite yet. But as Adam mentioned in the challenge, we created a manual that you can go utilize to implement with some more easy steps and kind of, just breaking it down simpler. So anybody that didn't get that yet, you guys, when you book the call and you get on the call, that's when I send that over. So if you haven't had the call yet, you're not missing out. And if you had the call today, it's coming after this session. And thanks, Matt. You dropped the link there in the chat if anyone hadn't yet booked. But yeah, I just want to dive right into it here. We're going to really go through the main 3 things that I found based off my 10+ exit interviews and some market feedback off the forms you guys filled out. Really the 3 key things that are going to tie this whole thing together that will give you the ability to implement where people were stuck, right? First off, we're going to start with knowledge gaps, giving you a little more understanding of how to do that, how that transitions right into the EAACO, and how the EAACO is kind of the bread and butter, and where the number 1 struggle I heard is the next thing I'm going to say. That's kind of the bread and butter of where we're utilizing the knowledge gap to bring people from unaware to problem aware, right? Definitely the number 1 thing I heard is people struggling with that. So we're going to make sure you understand that, how you can actually script that out. And then third, how does all this stuff, knowledge gapping, getting their attention, getting them into the EAACO, assessing, assigning, how do we get the proper call to actions to get people to come into our funnel, book a call, get into our, whatever the next step in your process is. So that's what we're really going to be breaking down and understanding. So we're going to start with knowledge gaps. And of course, I think knowledge gaps was the number 2 thing behind unaware to problem aware, that, where people said that they struggled, they didn't understand. And this, not everybody is going to figure out how to do this exactly for themselves. The number 1 reason why Fred is our knowledge gap coach, and the people that come into our more inclusive coaching program with the one-on-one assistance, the first call is a one-on-one knowledge gap with an expert that can, really solidify this in more ways than you're probably envisioning when you do it yourself. That's the biggest aspect of having an expert sit there. But I want you guys to have the basic understanding. So hopefully you can go through and get this done yourself. You may still need a little help. I can't guarantee one way or the other. I can't guarantee I'm going to break it down as clear as possible. So as you saw, I'm zooming in, right? I have this board of knowledge gaps from all different kinds of private clients. And we've done, 200+ of these sessions for people. I'm just going to pick one at random and go into, we'll go with Joe. And I'm going to go with Joe's first one because that's the one we helped do. The one above, Joe 2.0, we gave him access and he went in and added to it, which is great. It's always good to be tweaking, adding. Sometimes your offer changes, your market changes. What we want to do here is picture this knowledge gap analysis as like a tree, right? It's going to start narrow at the top and it's going to broaden out toward the bottom. This one goes a little squiggly, but you get the point, right? And what the number 1 thing, this is where we got to start. We all start at the top of the knowledge gap thing. We need to know what's the number 1 question you ask a prospect in your business, in your process, to see if they're a good fit to work with you, right? And when we break these down, the other thing to think about is we need to break these down in a yes or no, an over or an under. It has to be a split so we can keep this going, and you'll understand what that means as I go through this, more in depth. But you can't ask a specific question that somebody's got to come back and say, I get 1,400 site visitors. You have to ask, is it over under 1,000, right? If that was your thing, you have to have kind of a prerequisite of where's your ideal client. So for Joe, Joe wanted to work with somewhat established business owners, people making 10K plus a month. That's where he started. Hey man, are you over under 10K a month? For this person that said, no, I'm not. I'm sorry, I think they got these backwards. Are you okay? Are you under? I said over under. So are you under? No. So this is more Joe's ideal client. I would like this to be a little reverse. Person A would be your ideal and person B wouldn't. It doesn't really matter if it says person A or person B. One's ideal client, one's not. So then we make the distinction. Okay, so this person over 10K a month, before we follow that any further, the person that isn't yet up to that capacity, is that someone you want to work with? Is that something we want to maybe make a front-end product to bring them up to the level where they're ready to work with you? Or you have some free resources you send over? Or is it someone we want to nurture in a group and build up a community and get in our pipeline to present to and offer to down the road? And if that's the case, and we're looking at building out a hey now pipeline, ideal client, and a nurture pipeline to build people 30, 60, 90 days down the road, work you did today that could pay off down the road from keeping them in your community, in your email sequences, whatever you guys utilize to reach your audience, right? So we distinguish that. Certain clients we work with are like, no, Ray, this person over here, I don't even want to work with them. I don't want to build out, like, I don't want to go through that. I only want this guy. If that's the case, we wouldn't go through and map out all these knowledge gaps because you don't even want to work with that person, right? Why would we waste our time? But let's look at this, the next question. Cool. So Joe, let's go with your not so ideal client that's not yet making 10K a month, right? This person's under. What would be the next question you kind of want to know about this person? Well, are they charging high ticket, right? And again, you have to have a number, over or under. You can't just say you're charging a high ticket because someone could say yes, high ticket to them could be $997, where you look at it, it's 5K or more. So what's that in your world, right? So for Joe, is your offer over under 3K? No, it's not. Cool. So my knowledge gap to this person, what we're trying to do, knowledge gaps are entry points into the market and messaging to speak to prospects that are on different parts of their journey, right? Different establishment levels, different awareness levels, different sophistication levels, where we can't talk to the person that has this problem and is this established and message him the same way we're going to talk to this person with this problem that's this established. That is mass marketing messaging, trying to get all one message to one niche, as opposed to building out messaging for, each type of prospect that you want to work with and that you can help. So Joe's first knowledge gap for this guy, very simple. He doesn't have to go much further down. He's not over 10K and he's not charging high ticket. Hey man, what if I can show you how to increase the value of your current offer using YouTube ads and video content, right? So that's his knowledge gap to that person. And I'll show you later how that's going to plug into the next step. But first we have to go through this. Okay, Joe, what if they said, I am charging high ticket, but I'm still not over 10K a month? What do you want to ask them next? Well, do they have a predictable or consistent way to get in front of the right prospects? No, I don't. Cool. So what if I could show you how to use YouTube to be in front of your ideal audience? Now, obviously, Joe runs a YouTube agency with ads and content uploads. So that's kind of his jam, right? So those are kind of the people that the problems that he's going to see on his not ideal client. So now to get that person more established, you want to get him into your community where you're running trainings and master classes on how they can start to implement this, see some results. And now they feel like they're more on a plane where they're ready to work with you, right? Or for us, we build out a front-end challenge that gives people confidence to book appointments so they're more ready to work with us. It's very simple. So what we do and what we teach, it's, what you're going through and what we preach is what we practice. You know what I mean? Now let's go more for the ideal client, right? Because that's what we really want to know the messaging for. The not ideal client, some of you guys will, some of you guys won't. We definitely utilize that, right? We want that, your not ideal client a lot of times is the one that needs to be a little more unaware to problem aware. Your ideal client a lot of times is a little more sophisticated and is somewhat problem aware. Now we just have to show them that what problem they're aware of is a symptom or surface level problem, not the real problem. That's where we knowledge gap those people. So hopefully that makes a little more sense. Okay, so this guy's over 10K a month, but he's on a call with us because he still wants to get to the next level, right? He's struggling. He's obviously talking to us for some reason. So what are you asking him next? Do you have the systems in place to get new clients predictably? Let's say they say yes. Then what would you ask them next? Well, are you the one that creates all the contents and ads? Yeah, I am. Cool. What if I could show you a repeatable system to create high converting ads and content that can take you out of the business so you can working on your business and not in it? It sounds like with this model, the business and the content, the ads are contingent on you showing up every day. So if you take a vacation, stuff's not getting done, right? Boom, there's the knowledge gap. If they said, no, I'm not the one that create all the contents. Okay, cool. So you're over 10K. You have a way to get in front of people predictably. You are not the one that creates your own content, but you still have a problem. Maybe it's conversions, right? Is your conversion rate over or under? And then niche specific, right? If you're going to say e-com, the standard's like 3%. But if you're going to say high ticket closing for a coaching program, you want to know if they're converting at 15, 20%, right? So that's going to vary based on your offer and your niche. I'm sure you can kind of research standard conversion rates in you and your clients' niches, but you're going to want to ask them, let's say we went with 15% here, right? Is your conversion rate over 15%? No, it's not. What if I could show you how to create content that actually converts on YouTube, which will drastically increase your conversion rate, right? So that's his knowledge gap for the person that's that established, that sophisticated, but has this problem over here. Now, if everything's ideal and hey, my conversion rate is over 15%, well, darn. So they're over this, right? They have this, they don't create the content, their conversion rate's good. Are you unable to scale because you're only on one platform, Facebook, and maybe you're maxing out with your ad spend, your account there? Yeah, we basically are, we feel like we're scaled up to where we can because we're only using one platform, one avenue, right? Cool. What if I could show you how to transition and expand to YouTube? So whatever you're currently making revenue, we know you're well over 10K, right? What if we could double that by adding a second channel and scale it that way? And with most of my clients, right, YouTube ends up, overtaking the initial channel, and this could be your primary breadwinner, and you can rely on Facebook as a secondary revenue stream. Would that be a better model for your business going forward? Boom, there's the knowledge gap for that guy. And this guy, and other people say, well, yeah, I'm only on Facebook, but it's really tough to scan because I've had scale, because I've had ban issues, account limitations and restrictions, just platform, not working very well with my targeting, and I don't have my pixel set up properly. So there could be a lot of things within just Facebook. So, okay, don't rely on Facebook currently for your only channel, right? What if I could show you how to get YouTube clicks, conversions, and appointments booked for half the price you're booking for on YouTube now? Would that make a difference in your business? So each one of these knowledge gaps, again, is for a different person with a different problem. We usually circle the one that is either what we think will be most prevalent, or that is really your most ideal client and most sophisticated and who you want to work with. In this case, I don't know that this would have been Joe's most prevalent, but this is the guy he wanted most. He wanted the guy that really struggled with Facebook bans, but had a lot of this stuff in place. They weren't, he didn't have to worry about doing the content delegation. He didn't have to worry about their conversion rates. He could really focus on, hey, just like using YouTube as a new channel and getting that to grow really quickly. And that's his real bread and butter. It gets to the meat and potatoes of his thing, of his offer much quicker in the results. So then the last avenue of this was back to this question, right? So this person didn't have a predictable way to get clients, right? So definitely not going to be as established and as dialed in as someone that does have predictable. But okay, what are you asking them next? If they're over 10K, but they haven't yet had a predictable, acquisition model. Well, what are you currently trying? Is it organic or is it referral based, right? If they say organic, you're going to next ask, is this scalable? Well, I don't know how scalable it is because I'm posting all the content, creating all the content, and going in and messaging people. So, okay, basically, so you're saying you need to clone yourself. Well, what if I could show you a whole different platform where you don't have to be all that active? You create one video and people are seeing it for days and days, and all you have to do is hire a VA to go follow up with the comments to pre-qualify for you, right? So instead of cloning yourself, why don't we bring you to a whole new channel where you can do half the work, half the follow-up, but get in front of as many or more people? Boom. Or if he says referral, is this predictable? Most people, when it comes to referrals, do we know one is coming in tomorrow, next week, next month? And, not usually. You have to have but what if I could show you a referral-based scalable model using YouTube to reach other business partners that are then going to promote your offering, your specialties? So you're going to get in front of other experts that essentially work with your ideal clients, but don't solve the same problem. Then they can refer them over to you. And it's going to be very predictable because it's happening on autopilot daily. So boom, those are all his knowledge gaps. What I usually like to see is you come up with approximately 8. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Bingo. That's an ideal one. You start to come up with way too many means you overthought this, and you're trying to hit too many parts of the market. That's going to be impossible. I would say anywhere from 5 to 10 is fine. 8 is really ideal. That means we kind of have 8 different prospects. Could all be the same prospect, but 8 different types of situations where different problems need to be solved, right? So that's an overview of knowledge gaps in about as quick as I can do it there. Hopefully this is making sense. It looks like in the chat, everyone's getting it. So I'm going to go on to the next step and not really slow down. I'll take questions at the end. If anyone has anything particular, type it in the chat and Fred can kind of bring it up as it needs to be addressed. So now this directly transitions into our EAACO script, our EAACO framework. And I'm going to show you a different kind of resource or tool for this that you guys may not have seen, or guys can ultimately, feed right off of this. This board is actually like a resource in our private client thing. That's a deliverable. But regardless of that, you're going to understand. We're not going to go over super much today. We were really going over knowledge gaps, which is assess, right? Then assign. This is where we're going to assign the new frame and really bring them. This section of it is probably the most relevant. You got to have the knowledge gaps to lead into here. So it's hard to say the chicken before the egg, but this is where we're really turning them from unaware to problem aware, which was the big problem I was hearing, right? And then we'll show you how to do different call to actions. Number 3 there is really just holding people, bringing people to the next step and putting together call to actions. And last is kind of obligation, holding people accountable, right? But so I'm going to zoom in here and explain this in more depth. And based off the exercise we just went through, just pretend above is Joe's knowledge gap board, right? And in this case, we had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. We had 9 knowledge gaps that come out of this board. But each one of these can then be brought down into a different EAACO script framework that you're going to use in Messenger, right? So each one of these is going to drop down to a different script. So in this case, we would build out 9 different messages. And all that's going to change in here, of course, they're based off of different knowledge gaps, right? Each knowledge gap turns into its own little script. Now, after problem 1, and I'm going to explain this, nothing else in this is going to change. Really, all the rest of this is pretty much going to be the same. There might be a little stuff that changes, and I'll explain. But the only thing that you need to use your own, your own smarts in your business, your market, and problem solving that is a little tricky to transition and delegate right off the bat is once we assess the symptom level problem, we need to kind of reframe that as, hey, that's not the real problem, this is. So that's going to be kind of interchangeable based off the prospect you speak to, right? The rest of this is pretty congruent throughout. So in this case, I don't have that offer I just went through in front of me, but I'll use a very, very common one for this. This will be actually good because we've all seen this, and some people on the call I know do this. So let's say a business owner that's at 10K looking to scale to the next level. Their number one perception is, I got to go run Facebook ads now, right? I've validated, I've built to 10K organically. Everywhere, all the gurus and the coaches tell me to go run Facebook ads now to get to the next level, right? And my knowledge gap to that guy is, okay, man, that might be right, but what if I could show you, now that you validated your offer, have we really pressure tested it? Have you made sure it's positioned, packaged, priced, and more importantly, showing the perception of the value to the market as it should be? In other words, does your offer have holes in it? Because why would you want to go invest in paid ads and start flooding traffic through a cup with holes as we add those leads or water inside? Let's solidify, let's tie up your offer, make sure you're getting paid what you're worth, make more revenues and profits organically, then reinvest that into paid ads to really scale to the next level. Which ones do you think is a better business model for you going forward, right? And that's where I just changed his problem from running Facebook ads to, oh shoot, I have never really, I validated and sold it, but I don't know if I'm getting market value or what I'm worth. It hasn't really been pressure tested by an expert. I don't know if it's packaged and positioned the best it could be. So now they're thinking, where most people would say to that guy's problem, right? Hey, I got to go run Facebook ads. Cool, man. I do that. Yeah, here, I got a course. Here, this guy's a coach for it. Here, you're throwing a kind of wrench in the machine and saying, hey, that might be true. And all well, if you want to try that, but do you ever think if you tried this way, that might work out more profitable and more scalable, and you can actually invest profits off more organic growth, charging what you're worth. And then when you run ads, instead of maybe charging 1,500, if you're charging 3K because now your offer is better, what do you think your profit levels are going to be on these ad campaigns? Well, now that you're charging what you're worth, maybe a loss campaign that wasn't profitable can now also be profitable just because we changed the economics around a little, right? All kinds of different tweaks you can add to that. But the main thing is, hey, real problem is I need to run ads. Well, what if I told you the real problem could be your offer's not fully fleshed out yet, and let's work on that and then worry about investing into ads. Boom. So once you say that, what I say next this is where I kind of inject the knowledge gap, and I might have went into a little bit of the problem. I should have kept it right to that. But the knowledge gap is basically, hey, well, what we do when we work with our clients is we show them, and that's where I'm going to exactly what I said, right? We show them how to pressure test their offer, package, position, price, perceived value. You get with an offer creation specialist who builds out all your deliverables, the features, and then teaches you how to position that and pitch the benefits to the prospect. So you're closing more deals and you're more profitable, right? Where most people go wrong is they just go straight into Facebook ads. They haven't totally solidified their offer, their messaging, and even their market. They're just happy that they made that 10K threshold that everybody shoots for in this space. And then they go invest, but they lose money with ads very quickly because Facebook ads have become very, very competitive. You can't just be competent in ads and run the campaigns right off the bat anymore that are profitable. You have to be good with the creative. You have to be great with the targeting. And there's a lot less, options for how you can target and get in front of your ideal audience. So I would love to validate your offer a little more, get that messaging dialed in, really know what's appealing to your audience. And then we use that to ads, and it already is validated and we'll know what works. A lot less trial and error and testing. Does that totally make sense, right? So there's a good example of how I just, first, I assessed when my knowledge gap, figured out what his problem was, thinks he needs to run Facebook ads, reframed it with the real problem, and now I assign the call to action in the next steps, right? I assign the new frame. Hey, what we do is instead of just running ads right away, boom, 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 where most people go wrong is they do this, and usually it's going to be a trial and error thing or a waste of money or a waste of time. Where most people go wrong is they spin their wheels and buy a Facebook ads course themselves and think they can just go run profitable campaigns, and then they get outbid and crushed by their competition, right? You could mix in all kinds of different where most people go wrong based on this analogy. And then does that make sense? And now it's very contingent. Your next step is very contingent on how strong the frame was accepted. So if you've done that right, you've mapped out the knowledge gap and assessed, and then you've assigned a new frame and really brought them from unaware to problem aware, right? That's what you did there is, hey man, this is what you thought was the real problem. Now this is it. And the guy's like, what their brain does there is, right? Hey, everyone else is telling me, go run Facebook ads, buy a course, I can do it for you. This guy's saying something else totally. When their brain jumps to, cool, how do I find out more about this? Well, I don't want to do what 20 other people did. what this guy told me totally makes sense. It builds up authority and kind of credibility right away with the prospect. And that's what lets you, when you inject your solution, your offer, it becomes an unexpected solution because they didn't even realize this was the problem. This isn't what they were searching for. So all these other people pitching solutions, it's not going to be the same as you because you're going to come in with an unexpected one because you've just assigned a new frame and made them aware that what they thought was their problem isn't their real problem, right? So then when that's done properly, you should get a strong acceptance a good percentage of the time. I know I do. Strong perception, strong response being, yeah, right, makes sense 100%. That's what I need to do, right? Or, anything along those lines. And then you could just literally go into your call to action, right? Okay, I certainly think I can help. Let's do this. Let's book a call. But first, I want to send you over a simple free training, which shows you the answer to, in this case, I wouldn't say the answer, which shows you why really dialing in and pressure testing your offer is super relevant before diving into paid traffic. Now, you guys are probably all thinking, well, Ray, I don't have that. Well, it takes 5 minutes to go make a Loom where you can explain that in your terms. And then if this guy is going to be relevant to, probably some other prospects you speak to in the future, it's going to be relevant as well. So now you just created an automated asset and a resource and a training you can send to multiple prospects in the future. And that's how you build up your asset bank and have different trainings to help people along the way to build them up to where they're ready to work with you. Every time you realize a different problem, and it's only going to be like 8, right? That we come up with approximately 8 knowledge gaps. Well, you're going to come up with people struggling with different things. It's really, you don't have to do this, but I highly recommend injecting a resource, right? When you offer to book this call, it really makes the process go smoother and you're delivering value along the way. You're not just saying, hey, book a call. Okay, I'll speak with you in 2 days. Hey, let's book a call. But first I want to send you the simple free training, which will show why what I discussed above is so relevant before you put money into paid ads. Then on the call, I can answer any questions you have about that resource and assign some next suggestions, recommendations, and action steps. Does that sound good? Yeah, man, totally. Like, it's hard for them to say no once they've given you the strong acceptance, because again, you've assigned a new frame. You've told them there's something they weren't aware of. They totally believe what you're saying is legit and makes sense. And now you're giving me a free resource and offering to answer my questions and give me more information about it. Why would I say no to that, right? Yeah, that'd be awesome. So then you just insert what we say CCO link. That just stands for customer creation offer, or in this case, it's the same thing as your homework assignment. It's just different verbiage for it. But whatever resource you just talked about, solving that problem, making them educated on, you insert that link, send it, and then right after that, I'll place my calendar link below, select the date and time that's best for yourself. We'll chat soon, man. Boom. That's how you do it. Now, if you have a kind of wishy-washy, well, I would say medium acceptance, right? That kind of makes sense, but I don't know that that would work for me. Or I get it, but can you explain a little further? Like anything kind of wishy-washy, right? Like, yeah, I kind of agree with you, but I'm not fully on board. I like to have 2 call to actions for that person. That person's going to be a little less likely to want to go book a call right away. So that's where we talk about using like a nurture option. Ideally, and what we do internally, right? We have a Facebook group, right? So if this guy's not ready to hop on a call, I'm going to send him over a resource that's still going to address this thing. But my secondary, my more subtle call to action would be like, cool, man. If you're not ready to book a call now, that's fine, right? But I have this great free Facebook community where we talk all about offer creation. There's offer building masterclasses. There's a free course in the guide section. We do live streams a couple times a month on all the relevant, marketing and online business topics. Like, I think you get a lot of value out of it, right? Then I bring them in my pipeline that way. And as Yash teaches in our private client program, when we get to the Facebook groups, once you do that and send your link, how we set up our membership questions very strategically, and then reach out to that prospect and engage with them, there's a good chance we're going to book them in that way. If not, they're going to fall into your nurture process in your community, keep seeing your content, engaging, and eventually you're going to do something that's like, damn, this guy's legit. Like, I'm ready to step up and make the leap to book with them, right? So what you could basically say to them in simpler terms, I just explained it more in depth. There's basically 2 options, right? For the best advice, it would be to have a brief chat sometime in the coming days. So I can ask you a couple of questions about your particular niche, offer, business, market, right? What we talked about in the above messaging was a little generic. I'd like to get more specific into your business. Also, I just released a free training that's helping people overcome, validating and pressure testing their offer without having to run Facebook ads. If you'd love to see that, right? And that free training for us, we put that in our Facebook group. So when someone says, I want the free training, yeah, man, join this group, go to guide 1, module 3, boom, you'll find it right there. So that's another way. By building out digital assets and doing trainings, we upload those into modules in our guide section, and those become future lead magnets and homework assignments and things like that for people. So you're always going to fill it in with whatever this prospect was struggling with, right? We talked about pressure testing and solidifying his offer without yet sinking money to ads. So I'll either have a resource like that on file from past prospects, or I'll go create one in 5 or 10 minutes on Loom or Vimeo or whatever. And they're either going to say, yeah, let's chat when you're available, right? Some people in medium acceptance, you're still going to offer the call, but you're going to get a little less people just jumping at it. So it's great to have that subtle secondary call to action, which I think a lot of business owners and offers fail to do. It's like, hey, book a call with us, or you don't get to see any more than our free group, right? Or whatever, than on our email list. So this is giving a more subtle way and building up a nurture. And they're either going to say, yeah, I have some availability, and you'll continue, right? Just place my calendar link below, select the time that's best for yourself. And if they just wanted that training or that thing, cool, man, here's the link to my Facebook group. Just click to join, and it's right in the guide section, module 3. Let me know if you've gone through it. I'd love to know your best takeaway, right? Keeping them engaged, telling them exactly where, giving them next steps, right? People a lot of times in this need their hand held. Click the link, go to guide 1, module 3, right? Break it down as simple as you can. Don't leave stuff to chance. Just join my group. They're not likely to ever find that training they're looking for. Then you lost them, because that value that you're just in that problem you're just addressing with them, they don't have the content to go view right away, and they lose interest. You know how people are. If you're not in front of them, somebody else will be in front of them getting their attention. It's just the way it works. Lastly, we have a weak call to action. No, right? That doesn't really make sense. Okay, I'm kind of surprised by that, but I respect your opinion. I created a great free training explaining that in a lot more depth, how pressure testing your offer and going through that with your market and dialing your messaging would deliver you a lot more benefits without prior to sinking money into paid ads, right? To be honest, without speaking in a one-on-one call and learning a bit more about yourself, your business, your niche, your situation, probably the best thing I could do is give you over that free training course. Which would you prefer? And then you shoot over the link, again, directing them back to your group. And that dives into the next thing a little bit. The obligation is the last thing, and that's holding them accountable, last part of EAACO. And these are just tie down things. So on that weak acceptance, if they just came in the group, or even the mid, if they just took the training but weren't going to book a call, my thing is always the same. Hey, just feedback from our market, as well as ways we can improve our content going forward, right? Just something like that to keep them engaged, give them a reason to come back at you. And then if they don't in 24 to 48 hours, follow up. Hey man, do you have a chance to go through that training? Did it offer you any help? Just keep them accountable. But in the instance where they do take the strong acceptance and we do book a call, a lot of times, let's say we speak on a Monday and the guy's availability isn't until Thursday, right? 72 hours between calls. We like to do tie downs. So 24 hours before a call, we'll do, hey, Fred, did you have a chance to go through that training I sent you yet? If so, what was your biggest takeaway? I always love and welcome, feedback. If you haven't gone through it yet, please do so before our call tomorrow. It will really help you be best prepared and get maximum value out of our time together on Thursday. Speak soon, brother, right? Bam, just a reminder, keeping in touch with them. If you book somebody 72 hours out, you don't want to just book the call and then not speak again and hope and pray they show up. You're gonna see low show up rates that way. Just by a simple tie down message, 24 hours and then 30 minutes before the call will increase show up rates consistently. So a lot of people, it's a small little step, but a lot of businesses don't take it. They just think, hey, they booked, they're definitely going to show up. And then you don't contact them for 72 hours and all of a sudden they're off to a soccer practice instead of your call and it's not a priority or whatever, right? So 24 hours and then 30 minutes before, just a simple one. Hey, Fred, looking forward to our chat in about 30 minutes. Speak soon, my friend. Just reiterating, right? Maybe they overlooked it. They're out to lunch, whatever. Oh, shit, I got that in 30 minutes. Cool. Thanks for the reminder. And holding them accountable. So that ties kind of all of this together in how you can do calls to action. If you want to have, strong call to actions and then subtle secondary ones, which I highly recommend. And some people just want to go for the call booking. So, just build out your script that way if that's your only real action. But hopefully you guys can all get how assessing the situation and breaking down those knowledge gaps and finding those different entry points into these conversations. That's what that is. And you know what those knowledge gaps are also great for? They're going to be hooks you later use in ads. Even more so after you do this with your market, you start going through this EAACO, it's opening up the feedback loop where you can really optimize, right? You're going to find out by these conversations, whether in Messenger or on a 15-minute triage call, you're going to find out, hey, what intrigued you to get on this call? Cool. So, what you're going to find out more particular, you're going to see more like prevalent. Okay, I'm getting like 10 people with this problem as to 2 people with this problem. Well, the people with 10, when it's 10 to 2, right? Or 5 to 1 ratio, that angle is what you're going to want to use in front of a bigger audience because it's going to speak to more people. You're going to realize which knowledge gap people are replying to, making a strong frame to and booking quick with, as opposed to your knowledge gaps where you see less ideal clients, less motivated clients, and people that actually follow through less, right? So you're going to know, all right, this knowledge gap really speaks to my ideal client, the person that takes action, the person that goes through and wants to invest in their future, in their business, in their education, whatever we're selling, right? So those are the things you really want to keep in mind. These are different entry points into these conversations. And then this feedback loop is going to let you open up, optimize, and really dial in which ones you want to later convert into, paid campaigns. And really, without a lot of money or time in testing, you're going to know what's going to work right in the marketplace for your ad campaigns and be able to be profitable with them that way, right? So that's really how this all boils down. Fred, I would like you to add anything, especially since you're doing the knowledge gaps. If you have a different perception or some more value you would like to add, and then we'll go through and answer some questions and stuff.
Yeah, I definitely appreciate that, Ray. That was definitely super in depth. And that's why I love how you explain it, because the way that you explain it is just like an assembly line. And the thing that I like to do before any of that stuff is I like to set the intention. And here's why. I think the last time we had talked, nobody likes a chargeback. So I like to begin with the end in mind. And the only way that the knowledge gaps are really going to work is if you are a real expert. Because if you are a real expert at what you do, then you have your own way of solving a problem. And because you have your own way of solving a problem, that's the reasons why we can have 20 marketers on this call, and they're all going to have 20 different ways to do it, times the 8 knowledge gaps. Mm-hmm. So we have literally 160 different ways to solve the exact same problem. That's how powerful understanding knowledge gaps is. But you have to really have faith and belief in your craft, if you're really doing it, to actually help somebody out. So when you go on a call and you're doing somebody a solid as far as helping them out with something that they're completely unaware of, then what you're doing is you're popping them out of their head, and they go, "Oh, I didn't know I could do that." You're going, "Yeah, let's hop on a call and talk a little bit more about it, or follow the scripts that we have here." But for the most part, if you keep it that simple, like Ray was just talking about, and just realize that you are really holding a frame. And hate's a strong word with me, but I hate when people talk about the doctor-patient analogy. But in this case, it makes real sense. What you're working to do is to legitimately give them a solid answer that they've never heard before in their life. And from there, they will either take your recommendation or leave it. That's it. And if they want to go further in, the more that you're able to help them out with that one specific problem, you don't have to give them the whole answer, but just enough to raise awareness. And depending upon how severe the problem is in their life, that's really going to determine how much they really value it. But you have to know your craft in order to create a proper knowledge gap. Does that make sense? If it doesn't, please let me know in the chat, because to me, that's part of the secret sauce that I want to just go a little bit further in, so that we can understand it really is all about the attitude and how we approach that knowledge gap, and also how much value that will give somebody. And the only way that you're really going to know that is by either having previous clients and you've heard that pattern over and over and over again, and you're just like, man, that's it right there. That's a knowledge gap right there I can use. And then from there, you can review your knowledge gaps to see how the market has shifted, if it has shifted, because some of you may be in like trending markets, or maybe evergreen, meaning that it's going to be the same answer over and over again. That gets a little bit more complicated. That's why I go a lot further into it during the knowledge gap coaching sessions, because I'm listening for things like that. But in order for you to really have accuracy in your knowledge gaps, you have to be a real expert, really put them in the frame that if everything was okay, then why are they talking to you? Because in most cases, everything isn't okay. That's the reasons why they're in front of you. And then you give them a real legitimate answer that they haven't thought of until you came along. And if we just keep it that simple, you're going to watch your whole shift in just the way that your business, you'll just take it to another level. So that's all I just want to add to it, Ray, because what you just already said was pretty powerful.
Oh, that was good things, actually, even to expound upon that. And I'm sure you've noticed this with the knowledge gap sessions you've already run with the private clients. What they every one of these we've done, whether it was Fred or Adam before Fred, or anyone on our team that's done the knowledge gap sessions for our private clients, they all start to realize, like what Fred said, your expertise still has to be there. They all kind of realize that they stand out more than they thought in different areas. And more importantly, they realize that they actually have a solution to more problems than they saw, and more entry points into the market. I remember we did these with a client that was already doing 500K a month. It was a done for you client we enrolled last year that wanted us to just come in and take over their marketing process. Really, when we got on the call with the business owner and did his knowledge gap thing, 6 of the 8 knowledge gaps we came up with were never even entry points into the market he used or he realized, and he was already a very established business. So everybody from the entry level person to that was one of our more definitely financially established clients that hired us to do something for them. 500K a month is no joke. That's a pretty lucrative business. But
I'm glad you said it like that.
away.
I'm so glad you said it like that, Ray. I think from what I've seen so far and just observing the whole group is that we undervalue how powerful our solutions really are. So if we really do, so just pretend like you wanted to give the farm away anyway, because chances are people won't understand what you're saying because it's just so new to them, but they go, oh, you know, it's almost like having a computer with a different operating software system on there, because Mac and Windows you can get online, you can do the same things, but their operating systems are completely different. So you're coming along with a whole different program and they're just like, whoa, I've never seen this before, but it sounds legit and I can go test it and you're giving me homework. And if they really want the transformation, then they'll follow your lead. If not, then perhaps they're looking for an excuse. But, you know, as an expert, I don't want anybody wasting my time, because to me, so as it begins, so as it ends. I want to be able to really help somebody out for real the first time I talk to them, because I never know when I'm going to see them, because Ray just hit the nail on the head. There's a lot of attention deficit online. So I want to make sure that I'm giving my best up front to them. Yeah. But if they want that step, then they understand that they're going to pay for the shortcut, and that's through my offer, my product, or my service.
Awesome. And one other thing you said, I'm also not a huge fan of like the doctor-patient analogy, but in this case, it is accurate. You got to look at itself as you're prescribing the solution to the patient, right? And you're the only one with the solution. When this is done right, none of these other people that have engaged with them have offered what you're offering. So when a doctor,
let me give you an example. How many of us have kids or know of these little people called kids?
I'm guilty.
Right? It's almost the exact same way. Like, they're coming to you, they're complaining, they're screaming, they're hooping, they're hollering. You give them solution, and then they still want to like be in that energy. To me, it's no different online with adults. It's just like, look, you're looking for help, and now I really help you out, and you're still complaining. It's just like, what are we talking about here? You know? And now some people, and again, maybe that's the inaccurate way of thinking of it, but to me, that just makes sense. And Matthew said we're all just oversized kids, so I tend to agree with that.
There's truth to that. Exactly, to a certain degree, totally. And again, like when your doctor has written your prescription, how many times did you not take it and take his suggestion? Just curious. It's very, very rare that they don't take a suggestion from the expert and the authority in that space, right? So think of it the same way. Hey, you're writing the prescription for them. 9 out of 10 times, I'm saying 9 out of 10 times when they've given you strong acceptance, right? They're going to say, yeah, man, I want to get on a call. This is what I need. Like, I need to find out more about this, right? That's what we did. We kind of created a little zap in their brain. Like, hey, nobody's told me this before. He's 100% accurate. And I need to find out more about that. Like, yeah, I'm going to hop on a call. You're offering a solution to my problem that nobody else is offering, right? And that's where it's unexpected. What I was hoping to do here is tie it all together, and you guys can see that PDOCS is the overarching, right? The research and the key categories, the pains, the desires, the obstacles, all that stuff. But within the overarching PDOCS method, there's all these little things, right? Knowledge gaps are a big part, EAACO. And those to me are really the crux and the glue of it that you can go now, should be able to tie together and go implement. Because where I was getting a lot of confusion and questions was, okay, I kind of understand knowledge gaps, but I don't get how that helps me get somebody from unaware to problem aware. Well, that's right where you plug it into EAACO, right? And I went through that today. That's in where you go and you're actually assigning. First, you have to do the assessment, figure out which knowledge gap they fall into. That's assessing. Then you're going to assign when you jump into EAACO. So that should make that more clear. And then the other thing I was getting was, okay, Ray, now that I've assigned a new frame and I've gone through this, and you can even start these. How heroes can start these conversations, and then in Messenger you're going to transition into EAACO, because you're going to then you start with the how hero, then you're going to knowledge gap them, right? And then you're going to assign a frame, call to action, all of that. But that was the other thing I was getting is, okay, I'm getting conversations started, I'm assigning new frames, people are interested. What's my call to action? So hopefully I brought all that together, because that's where people weren't able to implement, right? I don't feel confident using my knowledge gap and transitioning them from unaware to problem aware. I hope I tried to clarify that. And then once I've done that, I'm not certain how to get the call to action. And should I go for a hard one? Should I have a secondary one? Like, those were all the questions I was getting. So that's what I really wanted to cover, and just, connect all those dots. And I don't know if I could do it much more simpler. So hopefully everybody got that. And if there's any questions, either unmute or type them in the chat now.
Ray, I think Reggie had a question. It's just got lost in the chat a little bit. You want to scroll up a bit?
I'll go find it now. Oh, there, Ray. Okay, so Ray also said the one-on-one knowledge gap that you realize you thought, okay, not though, you thought was the most valuable for the client was actually more valuable for the client. So, you know, the knowledge gap session, I wouldn't say is where you necessarily raise your price. In our private program, good question though. In our private program, knowledge gap session is first because that's where you're going to realize more problems you solve, more entry points into the market, and it's going to help you maybe look at your offer a little different. So secondly, after the knowledge gap, we do a one-on-one with myself, who has crafted over 200 high ticket offers for clients, and we really dial that in. That's where we'll go over the pricing. You might realize, yeah, you probably have like a light bulb go off, like shit, I can charge more, totally, but we don't really finalize and you know go through that until the offer call, and there's a reason for that. It's a process, but we do both of those within the first week of the program. So the first week, you get 2 one-on-one calls that are an hour plus long to really dial in your knowledge gaps with Fred, your offer with me, and that gives you a lot more confidence to go out there and now present, now get in these conversations, now inject these knowledge gaps into the marketplace, right? And start to bring people along that process from unaware to problem aware. So hopefully that answers your question, Reggie. You're probably going to get a light bulb going, shoot, I can charge more, and people get fired up like that in the knowledge gap, but we solidify that when we dial the offer in.
Yeah, I want to add to that, Ray. I was going to say during this challenge, we have more than enough one thing you should do per day in order to make sure that you get a holistic view of what the full offer is. And even in the knowledge gap sessions before, you know, anybody talks to me, the reality of it is you should be looking at this as a test, like just test it out, look at your offer in relation to your expertise. And then maybe as you're doing How Heroes, you realize, well, hey, I might be a little bit off as far as how I was doing it before offline, and now online, it sounds like it's the same problem, but it's completely different because of the dynamics. Dynamics affect a lot to me of how the knowledge gaps come into play. It just depends on your offer, your product, your service. You know, we have online coaches who just specialize in online, then we have offline practitioners as well. So it's always going to be a difference. It's no different than me being the same person, except I act differently on LinkedIn as I do on Facebook, as I do offline. It's just, I'm not schizophrenic. It's just like it's 3 separate platforms with 3 separate themes to them. So I would say also be mindful of that, especially if you're still working to dial in your offer, is that maybe you have to make some small subtle shifts, especially in the online space if you specialize in it, and vice versa.
You spot on. Different platforms, like you said, and different applications, right? Different applications to different audiences or different offers potentially. For some of you guys, I know you have multiple offers. So yeah,
but the knowledge gap process is still the same. I'm sorry, I want to
totally.
get clear. Yeah, the research is still the same. It's still research is still agnostic. Thank you for saying that, Ray. I want to get clarity on that.
Yeah, totally. No, that's spot on. Yeah, and in addition, I think I said this at the beginning of the call. Not everybody was on. Anybody that had a call with me today, I will be sending you the link after the session for the manual that Adam talked about in the challenge that we put together for you guys to use to help with implementation. And everyone who hasn't got that yet, once you have your call with myself or Matt or whoever on my team with the exit interviews, we will send you that link over. We just want to make sure you have clarity on, you know, what it's for, and we go through that session first. So I know there's a few people on this call I didn't send it over to yet today that I had a call with. That'll be coming right after the session. And again, Matt at the beginning posted the booking link. If you hadn't booked your exit interview yet, it's pretty much right at the top of the chat here. Make sure to click it now or copy and paste it and just book that, so you can have your technically 7th day of the challenge, even though today's bonus day 8. And you can get your manual delivered and all that stuff. So I think that's all I have. Matt or Fred, do you have anything else? I don't see any more questions.
No, I just really want to just say I had really thank you for everybody showing up for this challenge. And now my challenge to you is to really go out here and practice it every day, because it's one of those things where until you may have a staff, or if you have a staff already and they don't understand, you know, PDOCS and the method, once you get it up under your belt, it's going to make it easy for you to facilitate it to your teams. That way it's showing that you have an in-depth understanding of what you inspect, what you expect. So that should in itself be helpful to you in the respect that you can't tell somebody else what to do who wants to help you if you don't really know how to do it yourself. So we've done our best to just give you as much as we can of the overall process in such a short period of time, but hopefully it wasn't too overwhelming. It shouldn't have taken you any more than maybe even an hour, a day, if that. So I do know in some of the other modules, we talk about at least 45 minutes to just do some other stuff as far as like getting prepared and your calendars and other things like that. So sometimes to me, you just fixing that first before you even do a how hero so that you're playing full out and you can focus and concentrate on PDOCS method is something else that I wanted to bring to your attention as well. So please don't skip over everything because it's in a certain order for a very specific reason.
I think to reiterate what he said, consistency is key. It's the people that practice this consistently. They're sending out 10 how heroes. They're doing PDOCS research. They're testing out new groups. Oh, and I mentioned something else, and I got this question a couple of times. Like, I got one of my one-on-ones earlier. Like, I'm having a little trouble figuring out what Facebook groups to operate in, and all I'm seeing is some pitchy stuff. A strategy that I teach and that I utilize and deploy myself is I like to use what I call first party or niche specific groups, right? Like if I'm an e-com agency, okay, groups around e-com agencies. But I also like to use secondary groups because when I do messaging in there, when I dial it in, I can speak to audiences outside of my niche, but I can still compel them to the point where I'm probably going to speak with them at a lower volume than if I post in a niche specific group. And I'll give you a quick example, but it's going to be higher quality. And I'm going to be the first one getting in front of them with this type of topic instead of in an e-com group, people are getting pitched e-com services and things all the time, right? And seeing problems. So if we just bucketed all of our offers into one of the main three buckets, right? Health, wealth, relationships, everybody's probably falling into one of those three buckets in one way or another. And let's just say in this case, we're health. Well, then join some groups contingent upon wealth and relationships and create content and good messaging about how they correlate, right? Hey, when my client got healthy, got in shape, got his nutrition and fitness, his business 10x, right? Like, or when my client got his health in shape, his relationship had never been better. They have a better set, whatever it is. But like you can correlate pains and desires to your offer in secondary markets as well. That can be very, very valuable. Not to get off track, the main thing I wanted to say is it is consistency. And like Fred mentioned, overwhelm. There was a little overwhelm. I could tell by some of their results, but this call should have dialed a lot more of that in. So it's a little easier to connect the dots and now go implement consistently. If you saw maybe the screenshot Matt or I posted from a client that just posted last night, less than even 24 hours ago in our private Slack community, he had joined the PDOCS ecosystem in total less than 30 days ago, came into our more exclusive coaching program, but also joined the challenge, already made 11.4 back, and he has a pipeline full of ideal leads right now. Like that's Josh took the bull, ran by the horns, and consistently implemented, asked questions, showed up to our coach, like did what he needed to do. He's already, 5x his return, I think Matt said, or whatever on what he spent to work with us. So another example, the people that are doing this consistent and implement are the ones seeing results. What Fred says he's excited to see is like what you guys do with it. I've already talked to a couple of you. Dom, I told you to hold you accountable. Let me know the results that you thought you were anticipating. There's a few other people. I won't call everyone out by name, but I want to be hearing those results. If it's one sale, if it's 10 sales, if it's $100, if it's $1,000, if it's 20,000, right? So yeah, we're going to be holding you accountable, keeping track and seeing what you've done for results. And hopefully this gives you the confidence and the rest of the skill set from the challenge to go freaking crush it, get results, guys. That's what we want to hear from you.
Yeah, and I'd also like to go into a little bit more behind the scenes on that, because we did a knowledge gap session together. And the biggest thing that I uncovered with him was the exact same thing that Ray had just said.
With Josh, you mean?
Yeah, with Josh.
Okay,
yeah,
just for clarity.
Yeah, thank you, Ray. So the biggest challenge that he had, like everybody else, is life gets in the way. And sometimes you have to just go back to basics. And that was one of the big keynotes that we had. So when we were going through his knowledge gap analysis, it come to find out that there was one huge knowledge gap right in front of him that we just had to uncover. But that's what those shortcuts are for when you come into the full private client program. And Ray, there is one question right here.
I just saw it. So Mustafa, good. It sounds like you have a little more clarity. Today's example helped. That's great. So should you have your gap together before you start How Heroes? Now, you can always be doing outreach to get feedback, but it's going to be tougher. The How Hero is really getting that first engagement, getting them to respond and building up a little bit of authority. What's so clever about the How Hero, if you think about it, is you're reaching out to them based off their own post or their own comment or their own, something very specific, a problem. So you can reach out and start doing it. I think without having your gaps dialed in, though, it's going to be really tough to assign that new frame. So keep that in mind. So I would try to dial in my gaps first and foremost, yes. But the how hero is also part of the, before you assess, you engage, right? That's part of engaging. So you can start that process, get started, and you'll realize real quick how comfortable you are trying to assign a new frame, trying to assess their situation. If you're not comfortable with it, go back to the drawing board, your research, your knowledge gaps. But you might find just getting in reps and speaking to your market, you're like, oh, I know what to say here. And it might come second nature. So, there's nothing better for training than actual reps, getting out there and just doing, getting over that fear of failure, or what do I do? Worst case scenario, a cold prospect that you DM'd, you shun, you mess up the relationship. I mean, that's the worst thing that can happen. But right now you have no relationship with that person, anyway, you're about to do cold outreach to them. So the worst case scenario is you can end off where you started. Best case scenario is you're going to get better, you're going to get results, and you're going to get confidence.
And can I answer that a different way?
Yeah.
I would just say, my challenge to you is to spend about 10 minutes coming up with 8 knowledge gaps. They don't have to be perfect.
10 minutes, you're giving her a real crunch, huh?
Hey man, you got to put people on a timer. 10 minutes to come up with 8 knowledge gaps. And the reasons why is because as an expert, you should already know 8 things off the top of your head that you just do, even if you're in the same lane with somebody that you're the absolute expert and you can dominate on. So just write that, take it from that viewpoint. And then from there, go back through our stuff. Just craft it, polish it. If you want the shortcut, book a call. We'll see if it works. I mean, because again, I don't want anybody to get caught up in their head. I like high success ratios in everything that I do. So because I know it's tough to get the right information out there. And this thing is absolutely dialed in. And I anybody who knows me like it's just like I want facts. And this is very scientific. And because we've been able to bypass a lot of stuff, but sometimes we do have a lot of noise. So yeah, take 10 minutes out of your day, do it after we're done, and just bang, find out about 8 of them and just see how they work for you. Sloppy success is better than perfect mediocrity. So just do it. You know what I'm saying?
Imperfect action all day over trying to get it, perfect, obviously. Mustafa, your other question in what you're asking there is in regard to Facebook groups, if I'm not mistaken. So how big of a problem if there aren't enough volume of recent problem posts on congregation points, but enough historical posts to identify the problems you're having? So basically what I would say there is, what we're trying to, if you're doing research in groups, first off, if you're not having enough volume or seeing enough problems or seeing enough discussion, you probably want to explore other groups for one. So expand and test other groups. Most importantly, what we want you to do in the PDOCS research is identify the outlier posts. There doesn't have to be a ton. You could see one with 7 comments and 12 likes, one with 11 comments and 4 likes, one with 97 likes and 111 comments. That's the outlier. What drew that engagement to there? That's what we want to go in and assess. So I don't need there to be a high volume, but you do need people talking about problems. And if they're not talking about problems, they're often talking about obstacles, not always a problem, or they're talking about a desire, what I'm looking to accomplish, right? So don't always look just in problems, but more importantly, it's finding those outliers. What is getting the engagement, and then transitioning that and tweaking that and using that in other groups, in other means of marketing, right? In your organic posts, in your own Facebook group, in your email copy. You're going to find out what's grabbing attention within this market, and then go utilize it outside of that platform. Hopefully that gives you a lot more understanding. I'm asking because I'm having trouble finding enough people to send out heroes. Oh, I don't know how much time you're putting into it, but definitely explore more groups because it shouldn't be too hard. I either think you're not in the right groups or maybe not in enough yet. I would just say test, for tomorrow for a non-negotiable action, I'm going to join 10 new groups that are market specific and do my research. If you do that, I can almost guarantee you're going to have enough people to send out heroes to very quickly. Also, look into what I said. As you get more comfortable and more, your head wrapped around the whole research and the PDOCS method, explore secondary groups too, right? Other markets where you can use the messaging from this market that I just found an outlier post, take it to this market and then relate it over to that, right? Relate your business stuff to overall, better health or better relationships, just transition it. There's always clever ways you can transition one market to kind of coincide with another.
Yeah, or you can even Google it, top 10 symptoms of blah, 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 top 10 problems of blah, blah, blah. And chances are there's probably a Facebook group out there that solely exclusively focuses in on that one problem. So maybe you got 10 groups with 10 different symptoms that you're the expert at that you can knowledge gap somebody on.
Boom. Maybe you got 99 problems, but PDOCS knowledge ain't one.
Let's go.
All right, we'll close it out with that. Thanks, guys. Have a good one. I will be uploading the recording soon. And as I mentioned, I'll be sending over the manual link to anyone that's already had their exit interview. And I know I got a lot of you guys on my calendar in the next few days, so we'll be talking soon.
Yeah, thank you for your trust. Appreciate it. And we'll chat soon.
All right, bye-bye, y'all.